Well, welcome back to Be a Refuge podcast. We're here with a newer friend to the refuge. Kathy, you want to take it away?
Yeah, I'm so excited to introduce to everybody who's listening our friend Sasha Davis. And Sasha founded and facilitates and makes happen at the Refuge Rainbow, which is queer support and socials. And that has just been this amazing gift to our community that really started with kind of using our building and then making a transition into being a part of regular refuge community life last year in 2022. And so we're just so happy that people are going to get to hear more about it, because the truth is that in the refuge community, we all know this, that even those of us who are regularly in the refuge community life don't know really about some of the ins and outs of some of the things that are happening here. So Sasha, we feel so grateful and just glad that you can come today and hang out with us and tell us more about your awesome community that meets at the refuge and in other ways too. You all support each other in other ways other than just meeting at the refuge. So share more about how you landed here and what happens there, and just things that help us know more about you.
No problem. Okay, so Broomfield is relatively small. It's very suburbs, and it was conservative for a very long time. So those of us in the queer community have kind of been closeted for a really long time. We didn't have any places to connect. We don't have queer coffee houses. We don't have queer clubs. We don't have queer spaces. And I've never been closeted in my life. I didn't even really have to come out to my parents. So it was very strange to realize in my late 30s that I was surrounded by straight people. I didn't have any queer friends anymore because I live in this place where I couldn't really find queer people. So I started seeking out queer organizations, because as our little city has become more progressive, more of us have felt comfortable coming out and finding each other. We still don't have spaces. And so I decided it was time to build them. And one of the most important things for me was to start to create spaces for our queer children to come together. And once you're bringing the queer children together, you learn a lot about how their parents are supportive and love them and have no idea what they're doing, and they don't know how to be super supportive, and they're learning all the words, and they love their kids, and they want so badly to be there with them and for them and make sure they're doing things right. So now we've got our queer group for our kids to come together and just hang out and be queer together. Let's do a support group for the parents so that they have a place to come and talk and connect. And even when you have queer kids, sometimes the fact that your kid is trans is not the hardest thing that you're dealing with this week. It's the tech and the get off the cell phone, and how about not video games all day long. But being able to have those conversations within a group of parents who are like, and also our kids are trans, and that does throw some complications into our life. Even when we're supportive, even when we're totally understanding, society is not always, and that can make it hard for our kids. So we meet twice a month for the parents, we meet twice a month for the kids, and we're building community. And maybe someday we'll be able to open a queer coffee shop. That would be super cool. But for us, it was really just about safe spaces. And we landed at the refuge as a really perfect place. There's so much space, and the energy of that building is incredible. You walk in those doors and you just feel good and positive and wanted and loved, even for people who aren't necessarily religious or faithful. Knowing that it was a faith-built space doesn't really, there's no harm there, and so many religions, so many congregations have rejected our kids and our families. So being able to walk into this space and be like, hey, maybe it's not all bad, maybe it's not all terrible, and we're comfortable and safe here, has been amazing. So when it was time to transition kind of who was officially hosting these groups, owned these groups, so that I can continue my work in a different direction than what I was going, actually planting in the refuge and having the refuge sort of own our groups and be able to support and grow our groups, seemed like the perfect transition for us. And that's how we ended up officially part of community life last year.
I love that. I love that. I knew a little bit of the story, but I didn't know quite how that all shook out. Were you nervous or weirded out at first when you came in or heard about like this group? It's like there's
so I have a very good friend who is involved in community life at the refuge. And when she came into her adult realizing things about herself, we went out for coffee and she was like, I'm thinking these things and I'm feeling these things. And I was like, honey, I'm pretty sure you're a lesbian. She was like, maybe not. Anyway, she and her wife have been married for a while now, but she's part of the refuge. And I had another friend who was my kid's therapist, and she's also part of the refuge. And then one of our parents was like, hey, if we're going to move off of Zoom, what about this for a location? And it was the refuge. So I had all of these connections with really incredible people that I trust and have amazing emotional intimacy with. So I felt very comfortable walking into that building because there were already people that I know and love and trust that were like, this is the space for you. And they were absolutely right.
Makes me so happy. It does. It just does. And the story really of this is this bigger story of the refuge being a hub for healing community, social action, and creative collaboration. And we didn't always use that language. I mean, that evolved, and that's been a piece in Be a Refuge, just telling some of the story of how we've evolved. But that is language that when we say it, like that just settles in and it just rests. And Refuge Rainbow to me represents all three of those so well. Because you're just saying, I know what you're saying about hubbed or owned by the refuge or something, but is not owned by the refuge. It's hubbed in the refuge and nurtured and cultivated and supported by the refuge community life. And that's one of my favorite things out of everything here. And thinking about the two friends that you shared, that have ideas of things to bring to the community, and then we all have a space to make them happen, because we need other people that see the dream, believe in the dream, value it as well. And so that part of Refuge Rainbow coming in was such an easy and beautiful process, because it was just so clear. But we didn't just go, okay, let's do that tomorrow. Like, we really processed through, like, what does that look like? And what do you need? And what needs to be clear? And how can we make sure that, we're supporting all of those things? And then you don't feel like you're out there by yourself, but you also feel autonomy. And then is there any money things we need to worry about? Is there any, we just walked through safety things, volunteer things, the things that help us, that are frameworks, trestles, or what are they called? Trellises, that kind of guide everything and help it grow, but aren't like you're not bound by it. And so it's been such a gift to us. And I'm just wondering, I need to say this really quick too. I don't know. I'm feeling Refuge Rainbow Cafe, or the Rainbow Cafe. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling something in the air, because at least like once a month, or, some like really fun, open to everybody kind of space with, So anyway, I just need to say that out loud. The other part that I am just wondering is, like, on Monday nights, you now are on Monday nights, just what does that kind of look like? And how do people find you, and kind of what happens in the generalist sense of really creating a safe space so that everyone who comes feels like they've got a little refuge space to fully let their guard down and be protected and cared for?
So our kids meet the first and third Mondays of the month. And we started out, it was going to be a support group, right? Kids have things they need to talk about. It turns out they really just want to hang out and talk to each other about whatever, and have us mostly leave them alone. And we've kind of found our rhythms now. So the kids get there, they check in, they split off, or they hang out together. We've got some as young as 9, and we have one kiddo, 17, who comes in occasionally. Usually they're mostly about 10 and 14, 15 right now. But we've been going for a year and 8 months now. So they're growing up and having birthdays together and transitioning together. So they just come in and hang out, and eventually they get bored, and then they come over to me and I try and have whatever crafts activity, something, until they get bored with that. We work in about 30-minute chunks of time is the rhythm we found. And then they wind up turning off all the lights and go play in the dark hide and seek. And we just hang out and make sure that nobody breaks anything or sets the building on fire or anything else. And then they get bored with that and they do it. So they just kind of connect. And one of the things I tell their parents is that the whole goal is that they walk into that building on Monday night. Everyone in that building is queer. Everyone gets them. They've got adults they can talk to if they need to. If they have anything, mostly they don't. They just want to be together, and they get to just be obnoxiously themselves in a way that they aren't necessarily out in the broader world. Because even if you're at a school, even if you have a clique, even if you have queer friends at school, there's still a lot of, our society is not great, and there's a lot going on in the country outside of Colorado that is scary. And knowing we're safe in Colorado, knowing that we don't have laws making us illegal, it is awesome, but also we see what's happening to our community, and it's terrifying. So you get to come in here and just be loud and queer and try on your makeup and test out a new pronoun, and maybe we're practicing a new name tonight. There's just no judgment and there's no question. So Monday nights for kids is just hanging out, making connections, just being together. For parents' night, we used to just do an hour, and we kept finding we'd get into these really deep conversations and then we were done. And it was like time to go home. So we spread that out to 2 hours, and we started bringing in food. So we're kind of trading off who brings in the snacks. We've got like a charcuterie board and a vegetable tray and some seltzers, and we just sit around a big table and we talk. And sometimes one of us comes in with okay, this thing happened at school, please help. And then other times it's like, no, we're pretty good this week, except if we could get the kids off the video games, that would be great. And again, it's just about connection. It's about solidarity. It's about sitting at a table with people who get you and are at the same place that you are. And, we've got parents at different ends of the spectrum. Somebody's kid just came out and they're like, I don't know what I'm doing. And somebody's kid has been out for a really long time and they're like, I remember that. Here's what we did. So it's informational, it's educational, and it's just being together. It's just literally being safe and less isolated, and knowing that you're not alone in the world is what we do. So yeah, snacks and hanging out and hide and seek and figuring out how to get the kids off their phones. That's most of what we do. Our next goal, the thing that we want to make happen, is young adults social hour, just once a month. They're very busy. Just a couple of hours for 18 to 25-year-olds to get together in Broomfield and connect, because we don't have any hubs in Broomfield for the queer community. So we're going to build them, and the Refuge is doing this incredible job of supporting us and giving us a place to be, to start to build these things so that we can grow within our community.
I love that. How do folks find you? Just kind of word of mouth, or?
Very good question. I have no idea. Yes, right now it seems to be word of mouth. We're working on getting kind of our internet presence set up so it's easier. Have a web page that can be updated with our dates and times and get information. But right now it's a lot of word of mouth, because there are people that know about us who are not necessarily involved, but they know we exist. And then there's people who are involved and they can be like, yeah, I was joking with a friend earlier today that I seem to be the introductory path for Queer Broomfield, because recently somebody will move here and they'll see one of our city council members make a comment pro-trans rights on Instagram. So they reach out and they're like, hey, so queer people in Broomfield. And they're like, here's Sasha's phone number. And oh, here's Sasha's Facebook. Just 2 days ago, somebody was asking about support for their trans kid, and I got tagged into that conversation because somebody said Refuge Rainbow is where you want to be. And then there was a question about whether or not it was a religious group because their kid has been harmed by religion. And there's no way. So they tagged me in and they were like, Sasha, answer this question. I'm like, no. We are here for whoever. We have a lot of kids that aren't comfortable with religion, but they're in this space. There's Jesus pictures on the wall, and they're very irreverent about it. And I love that because it's making it safer for them. If their parents are still struggling with their faith is not necessarily supportive, they're a little more understanding that, okay, maybe there are spiritual situations that do love and support us, and I'm gonna be patient with my parents while they're sorting them out for themselves. But we don't have a religious agenda like you end up so often with groups that are in churches, right? It can be very awkward. And, you know, we've got Jewish kids, and if we have a Muslim child who wants to come, they're going to be comfortable and safe there because it's just what we are. Everyone is here. We love each other. We're coming from every different place. And it's just been really beautiful. So that was the conversation that came up, and it was just on a Facebook group. And it's probably the fourth person in the last 2 months who I've made that connection with, because somebody went to a Facebook group, Broomfield Moms or whatever, and they're like, kid just came out, don't know what to do. And somebody's like, Sasha, come in here, Refuge Rainbow. So we are hoping to get a lot more information on the web. We also do have to be careful about security. I don't want to just put out there in the world, here's where a bunch of queer children are gathering and the address and the times where you can find them and come hurt them. Because unfortunately, that's a reality we're living with. And so it's a balancing act of making sure people can find us, but also keeping our folks safe. So we're kind of figuring that out as we go. But yeah, a lot of word of mouth, and we love that. And we encourage people to talk about us.
You know, I love hearing this because this question comes up a lot in the wider community. In fact, 2 times this week at the Refuge Cafe, 2 people said, like, I hadn't heard of you guys before. And I was like, we're busy, you know, we're busy. Honestly, we have a lot going on. We've been here for a long time, and it's not for lack of wanting other people to know. It's not that. It's just that hasn't been something that we have really had to intentionally do, or just have the space and capacity to, and that we like somehow it works. And I respect that. It's a both and, you know, because you do want people to have access, but I really appreciate you saying this thing also, just about this resonates with so many things Joe and I have talked about here about, you know, small is plenty. You know, there's a lot that happens when it's like there's enough space for everybody. And then sometimes there's bigger events where more people can gather, but then there are these smaller places where people can really share. And, you know, the world it operates in this methodology sometimes on things that I think is inconsistent with some of the things where real, true healing community is built. And so, and at the same time, that connection, this is the creative collaboration, because that the people in positions in government and leading in Broomfield know us, and they know us through the kind of the Refuge Cafe part. We get people like that, and then they know you for your work in the community, and they have actually a human being who can connect. And that is everything, you know, that's better than any blast of an event, you know, because those are the more subversive things where people can really like have someone call and have someone that answers and have someone to sit across a table with. So I love that reminder. And the other part that I was just thinking of for you all is just a piece of this resonates with your work in the world. Just coaching and supporting and empowering. I mean, that's a piece of this story. It's just, that's you. Your vocation is as a life coach and executive coach, and share more about that, like that part of you that strengthens people.
Yeah. The pandemic happened, and that was scary. I was literally sitting on a plane to go pick up my stepson from a crisis on the other side of the country when we got the email that said, when you pick up your children from school, don't bring them back. And I came home with him, and our whole lives were completely in upheaval. And I'm talking to my therapist one day, and she says, it's time for you to go back to school and get your degree and be a therapist. And I was like, no, that's a lot of work. I don't want to do that. And she said, okay, then I want you to find out what's required to be a life coach. Fine. So I went and looked it up, and it turns out there's nothing required to be a life coach. You can literally just say, I'm a life coach. But there are gold standards for being a good life coach. There are training options. There are certification options. And I said, all right, if I'm going to be a life coach, I'm going to be the best life coach I can be. So I spent all of 2020, I went through 120 hours of training, mentoring, education, learned so much about connecting with people, and just amped up what I am capable of doing within all the work that I was already doing. And I absolutely love it. Personal development is what I focus on. I work predominantly with high success women who have ADHD and are hitting that point where they're like, things are going to start falling apart. Let's sort this out. And so that's been really beautiful. And then having kids come in that have ADHD or autism, I've got this really solid foundation of what adults need. So how do we support the kids through this, and also being queer? So it's been really remarkable. And then I do a lot of political work as well. And I try to kind of keep those separate, because my politics don't necessarily mesh with somebody who's trying to support their queer kid. And I don't want to put them off because of how I vote. So I try, here's my queer work and here's my political work, but my political work is obviously dedicated to supporting my queer work as well. So they've kind of interacted really well. And it was really cool when I told everyone, yes, I'm officially part of the Refuge now. I will be doing my work through the Refuge. There were people within the city government that went, oh, we're so relieved, because we get to keep doing our work together with the Refuge, who they already do a lot of work with, supporting our unhoused community. And so they were just really excited to be able to keep those connections. And it felt great coming in to be officially part of the Refuge and have all of these connections already have being like, we love the Refuge, we already work together. So it's made everything a lot easier to kind of gel. So it's been really cool to take my professional life and my personal life and my political life and just bring them all together. And right now it's working really, really well. And I hope that I can continue that. And the support that we get from the Refuge, I think, is going to enable a lot of the goals that we want to do to be a lot more possible, because we've got people within the Refuge that'll help with websites and emails and business cards. Not having to make my own business cards, it seems like such a small thing, but it's just this one less thing I have to do. I can dedicate that time towards figuring out craft projects for the kids, and that it improves for them. So yeah, connections, networking, as we think about that as like, executive, oh, networking, get your new job, but it's networking within your communities too. And the Refuge has really supported us doing that. And I'm very excited about what we can do in the future with all of these connections that we're making.
I'm excited too. Very excited.
What else do you know?
What else do we want to know? Everything, all the things. I guess, how can the Refuge community support y'all, and or are there any things that y'all need that you can put out into the world that would be helpful?
Money.
Okay.
Organizations that are entirely volunteer always need money.
So
it's so true. And the Refuge needs money, but that's not what, what can we do? I have no idea right now. Right now, I need people to know we exist and share that we exist. I need people on Facebook to answer that question and tag me in so that I can share the information. I need to know when we do start expanding and we're like, hey, we want to do once a month family social hour, whatever, that we've got the Refuge community is ready to help support us. So we need paper plates for when we have food, that kind of stuff. And so really what we wind up needing is stuff that the Refuge needs in general. The Refuge Cafe can utilize You know, my kids like to grab snacks while we're there. So anybody within the larger community who's helping provide snacks and bottles of water and drinks and stuff, that supports us too. And it makes my kids feel really like they're a part of the refuge. We're not just borrowing the building like we were when we first started there. No, there's the snacks for you. Yes, go get a cheese stick, grab a bottle of water, you know, go sit on the comfy couch. And so fundamentally, while we're finding our feet and figuring out how our program's going to work, we need the refuge supported by the community. But like, the kids have a lot of stuff they want to do. They want to write a book about their stories. I don't know what we're going to do with that. We're going to make that happen. They want to do an art show. And our library is incredibly supportive of our queer community. And I know that we can set something up with them because they were like, can we put our art in the library? We can. We're going to make that happen. I know the library is going to support us. So we're going to utilize the connections that people within the larger refuge community have to make that happen. We're going to need art supplies. We're going to, you know, need stuff like that. Eventually, the kids want to take a field trip to Meow Wolf, which would be amazing. I do not want to take 20 16 to 10-year-olds to the Meow Wolf by myself. That's not a thing.
I volunteer as tribute.
There you go.
I'm gonna need chaperones for that, right? But we're still a work in progress. We don't know exactly what we're doing yet. Right now, we're just together, we're safe, figuring it out. And as we go, we're gonna identify specific needs that we can get from people. But yeah. Whatever the
I'm so
refuge
happy.
needs.
What were you saying? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
I
cut
was
you off.
whatever the refuge needs, we need is really what it comes down to right now. But in the future, we're gonna need more. I just don't know what that looks like yet.
I'm so happy that the kids are eating cheese sticks and drinking water out of the fridge. And that just makes me so happy because that is exactly the space that we want to create. And that, you know, I sometimes describe to people that the Refuge Cafe is like a Cheers bar without the alcohol. You know, you walk in, everyone knows you came. Although, see, like this is a generational gap because none of the kids and, you know,
The kids don't know.
no, they have no idea what that is. So it's only when I'm talking to boomers and but
I mean, to be fair, I am a millennial and I did watch Cheers with my boomer parents.
okay, there you go. And but that other part of like this is our home, and we have some language that we say that, you know, this is our treasured home when we do orientation for Refuge Cafe stuff. It's our treasured home, and so we here everybody gives and everybody receives, and so make yourself at home, exhale, and we share this together. And that there is a need for this kind of third space where it can just, you know, and it's free. This is the part, it's free because everywhere else, you know, you got to pay for something or there's a time limit or it's only available to certain people. And so it makes me happy. And I would just say, you know, kind of naming it Hard to Be a Refuge or stories as we learn, dream, and practice together is that we are working on developing our sponsorships because there is something about people that go, hey, I want to sponsor the Refuge Rainbow and take care of these things for the month, or I want to sponsor making sure that everybody gets to go to Meow Wolf, and that those are things. And then you mentioned this about infrastructure, and then we kind of have the infrastructure we've worked really hard on over the last few years, which is not an easy task. When you are a wild hub for healing community and not under certain normal practices that, you know, like typical hierarchical organizations have, but we have done it where we can help make sure that there are things like business cards and check request forms and budget items, you know, things like that that do kind of help. They're not the driver, but what they do help is sustaining. And so, and we want you to last and grow and dream. And that's the other part. I love hearing that the kids are dreaming about things that they want to do.
Big plans, big plans. They would love if every queer kid in Broomfield came to group. And I love and appreciate that. And I'm also like, you know, 20 is about good right now. Yes, you're right. Smaller groups can work. My kids want the world and the refuge as a whole, the community, you, people in administrative positions, everyone is making us feel like anything is possible once we figure out what we know and how we need to do it. And that's a really incredible feeling. Really incredible feeling.
So any last burning questions before we do our rapid fire, Kathy?
Yeah, just anything. Is there anything else you want to add and
Anything
just
you
make
wanna
sure that people know?
I tell you what, I will tell you this. This is the first time I've had an opportunity to talk to anybody with the refuge since we made this choice. One of the other organizations I work with, I'm on the executive committee. We just had our monthly board meeting and voted unanimously to sponsor one of the meals for the Refuge Cafe every month.
Oh,
Oh my goodness, this makes me so happy. We need it so much.
So for now, we're gonna give you guys a check every month. But in the future, we're hoping to utilize our people to come in and volunteer within the refuge. But right now we can give money. So we're gonna start there. That's one of the things I love about the work that I'm doing. It's getting to make all of the connections. Supporting Refuge Cafe supports my kids. Supporting my kids through the Refuge Cafe makes the culture broader, more welcoming, more inclusive. Somebody can come into the refuge and be like, Refuge Rainbow, I feel amazing just being here, because this is a space that supports our queer kids and our parents and our queer adults, and being able to join that and then help feed people because I've got all these connections through the city. I'm really excited about it. And I've been waiting until I could talk to somebody in person so I could say, money. We all need money. Money's
yeah.
It's awesome. It helps so much because someone could just easily from our team go buy it and it all works, but it is financially, it just is hard to sustain feeding 50 people 12 days a month. It's a lot and we ran out, and that means so much. And we can put sponsored by, we have a little board that we can do that. So thank you.
We're very excited about it. And stuff ends up in the fridge and then my children eat it. So it's a full circle.
The circle of life.
Yeah. Gotta love it.
Oh, love it. All right, here we go. Rapid fire. Are you ready?
Am I answering?
Yep.
Yeah, this one's just you. We do this with guests.
Yeah.
They're super quick, and we'll go first
they're
thought,
not
best
hard.
thought is what my friend Angie Fatal says. First thought, best thought. Don't overthink it.
All right. See how quick my brain works.
All right. What is one word that best describes the refuge for you?
Inclusive.
Finish the sentence. I keep connecting with the refuge community because
Love.
Hmm.
So much love from everyone.
The most irritating part of the refuge is
The front doors kind of suck. They're heavy and the locks don't always work and they don't like to stay open or closed.
It's so true.
they're so loud. They're so loud.
Like one day, like the front of the one just like fell off.
I believe it.
We're irritated with you. Okay, last one. Being part of the refuge has helped me ...
Feel more confident in the social justice work that I'm doing because I can see the impact that we're having within our community.
I love it. My heart is full too, Joe. And thank you just for this gift. And so we always end with one little last round where we all answer. It's just what we're leaving with. And so we're leaving with a little more blank or a little less blank. And I'll start and just say that I am leaving with a little more expansiveness and gratitude. Both words, expansiveness and gratitude.
I am leaving with even more certainty than I usually have that the refuge is right where we needed to land.
I'm leaving with just that warmth. That can just warmth inside and gratitude for the space that you're helping create, of safety and belonging and welcome. So thanks.
Yeah, such a gift. And so you can email the Refuge Rainbow. The emails on contact stuff is on our community life stuff, and reach out. And thanks for being part. So fun. Can't wait to see what's ahead together. And thanks to everybody listening to Be a Refuge. We really have been having fun. And I feel like I learned some things today, and that's my favorite part. Like,
That's good.
I didn't know, and it was awesome.
No, I'm so glad. Thank you for inviting me to join you. And obviously, I would love to do this in the future as we develop the podcast further.